Hey team, it's Simon, aka Mr. Lisa here. Lisa's asked me to reach out. Sorry there haven't been any shows this week. We've been in the Healthy, Wealthy, Kind retreat. They're finishing up today. They're down at Judara doing some breath work. So I'm on the way home to cut up some YouTubes and podcasts. So yeah, we'll have some more stuff. We'll be back on track next week. And then we go into the second and final retreat for 2025 the week after, but I'm going to make sure there's heaps of content coming out while we're busy. So apologies, but yeah, we'll get back on track. All right, have a great Indonesian National Day today. So to all the Indonesian friends, have a great National Day. Bye for now.
Welcome to Salon Conversations. This podcast is for salon owners and also for salon team members. And I guess the podcast came about because I get really frustrated. I get really frustrated because I hear from both sides of the camp. I hear from the salon owner who's frustrated that there's appointment gaps in the team members' book. And then I get frustrated because the salon team member who has the gaps in the book says, well, you get me the clients and I'll do them. But like, what do you want me to do? I'm here waiting for the clients to show up. And so it just doesn't work. It never worked. And I think probably for me, it was a bit different because I'd worked my way off the salon floor and I believed that my job was to get the team member a client and the team member's job was to wow them so that they kept coming back. Now, that's a pretty good partnership. However, some of you are working on the floor a lot. Some of you are doing so many other things that you don't really have the time to be marketing for clients all the time. So if you're doing 30 hours or more on the floor and someone's got to do the pays, not to mention that you might have a house full of kids and dogs and chickens, and you've got team members to train, blah, blah, blah. Insert problem, insert urgent solution, insert next problem, insert another urgent solution. And there lies the problem. So I wanted to explain to you in this podcast what I think is a much better solution. So it's true. It's absolutely true that we are all in sales and we're all in marketing. And if you don't think you're in sales and marketing, I think you're delusional. So we think sales is selling something and we think marketing is pushing something on someone or pushing your branding on that. And I disagree. This is my simple version of marketing. Marketing is telling somebody that you do. Somebody or someone or some sort of platform or might be socials or wherever you are. I think you're in marketing if you are telling somebody what you do. So if you ask me, what do you do for a living, Lise? And I say, well, I help salon owners find the money that's hiding in their business. Now, I might be telling that to a bricklayer and I'm not thinking about whether or not that will turn into a lead, but I say it in a way that makes it interesting and you don't know. That person might be married to a hairdresser or a beauty therapist or knows of someone who's struggling and thinks, wow, I've got a friend who could use your services. And then I could say, here's a card, give them my card or this is my number or write down this is my handle and that's it. And you walk on. So is that marketing? 100%. To a bricklayer? 100%. So if you let go of who you're marketing to, as in, oh, there's a prospect, I will market to that person and just tell the world what you do. Just let go of all that control. Just be you. Just be a shiny version of yourself. That's what I think. And I can tell you how this plays out. I remember when I had the salon and even when I didn't, when I worked for my boss, Sam, I had the one boss for 16 years. I would go to the supermarket and get a tin of tuna because that's what we lived on. And I'd run into somebody that said to me, your hair's pretty. And I'd say, oh, thank you. I'm a hairdresser. Where are you? Where do you work? Over there. Huh. Looking for a hairdresser? Come and see me. That's as simple as it was, right? I didn't have to go around saying, oh, shit, I'm going to get a tin of tuna and now I need to be marketing for someone to come into my column. When you're free and open and you just tell people what you're doing without any agenda, some of them fall into your chair. That's what I think. That's what happened to me. But if you don't want anyone to know where you work and you don't want to get people that were friends of your mums and you've got all these restrictions, well, that just makes your life harder. Heads of hair are heads of hair as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't care who you were or where you came from, providing that you were happy to listen to my advice and we're kind of on the same page. And that's kind of just as much as I thought about it, really. So maybe that simple approach that I had was, you've got hair and I'm a hairdresser. That's kind of all it was, right? So I never had trouble getting people into my chair because I just thought that's what marketing is. You just tell people what you do and some of them come into your chair. So I bet you that some of the people listening to this are going, no, it's not my job. Why is it my job? Why am I marketing? That's my job. And I think, well, okay, don't make it your job. And then have a look at why you don't have a fully booked column. Like, why is it someone else's job? Why isn't your day and who you spend your life with your responsibility? I just think it is. I'll just don't get it, right? So if you think about your job as a hairdresser or a beauty therapist, we want to work with good clients, yeah? Nobody says, oh, I love the shit clients. No one says that. They all want to work with good clients. And then you say, what kind of work do you like? And they go, I don't really care. I like working on this. And then some are really clear. But either way, if you've got no idea where you're going and what you want, the chances of you getting there are pretty slim. But if you think, no, I only want to work with insert the thing, then go find them. Go find them. But if you're sitting there in the salon thinking, oh, yeah, got not much on today, and you go, well, that's a bit shit, I just don't think that's a good strategy. And we're all in marketing, even when we don't have a social page, just because, like I said, I looked and acted like a hairdresser and people ask me about my hair. Now, I'm 61 and I stopped colouring my hair because I got sick and now it's growing back grey, all grey and curly. And I could guarantee you, if I was working as a hairdresser here in Bali, the amount of people who say to me, like really nice things, they say, your hair's beautiful. And I could easily say, thank you, I'm a hairdresser. I don't. I say, thank you, I used to be a hairdresser. And it's so lovely that you've said that because I coloured my hair for 40 years and I've only just stopped. And so for you to say, take the time to say my hair's lovely is really greatly appreciated. So thank you. And they go, oh, it's stunning. It's stunning. There you go. Right. Now, if I wanted to look after someone and attract clients, wouldn't it be easy if I had something in my wallet that I just pulled out and said, here, come and see me. Here's $30 off your first offer. That would make sense to me. And I get it all the time. Like I was with my sister in Melbourne just recently, maybe 4 weeks ago, and a lady came up to me. She would have been probably about 40, and my sister's older than me. And she said, I just thought to say that you girls are beautiful. And I said, oh, thank you. My sister was so uncomfortable. And she goes, why would she say that? I said, who cares? Just take it. And that was the end of the conversation. But she looked at me like I was odd. Then recently I was with the landscape gardener here in Bali and we were having a coffee and he's a gay chap about, I don't know, 50 or something. We're just sitting there and a woman came up as she was leaving. I didn't see her approach us and she just said, I just wanted you to know I think you're stunning. And I said, oh, thank you. And he goes, who was that? I said, I don't know. Like, I just think if you look and feel good, it radiates out of you. And I'm not telling you because I want you to think I'm wonderful, as in I'm a movie star. I'm telling you that because when you ooze a joy and happiness that comes from within, it's very noticeable. And I'm not Elle Macpherson, I'm Lisa Conway, but every one of us is beautiful. And so if you radiate what it is you love and do, which to me is the hair and beauty industry, it comes out. Like even just a nice selection of glasses or a red lipstick or a colour that matches your skin or whatever, or just the way you hold yourself, your posture. It says a lot about you. And so I do not understand why it is hard to market yourself. So if you're quiet and gentle and like I'm not, then it's going to be a little bit difficult for you because you might feel uncomfortable to say, would you like to come and have your hair done in my salon, or would you like me to look after your skin? But I also think that's an excuse, because everybody gets to have gentle, quiet conversations with people, and some people have noisy ones like me. But people will be approaching you and talking to you and saying nice things about your skin and your hair and maybe your makeup application or your jewelry or your shoes. And that's when you can go, thank you. I'm in the hair and beauty industry, so I've got a real thing about things that are nice when it comes to looking and feeling good. So there you've opened the door, right? But if someone says to you, your skin's lovely, you go, thank you, you run away, well, you missed an opportunity, didn't you? So it's up to you. And I bet you anything, if you think about the opportunities that you missed and you take a different approach, you get a different outcome. And I don't think that it's difficult to attract people to us if we are genuinely looking for people to fit into our column. So you might do it in a way like I do it, which is accidental, or you might do it in a way that you think, where do I go and who do I know, right? So you might think about you have children and you particularly like one of the school teachers, and you might offer her 5 or 6 or 10 cards to put in the other teachers' pigeonholes that they could perhaps come and see you. I don't know. Maybe you go to yoga. Maybe you buy the coffee in the same place. But I think that it is your job to market to you. And I believe that if you are the one marketing to you, then the clients that come in through the door for you ask for you. But if you are sitting on your hands and you're waiting for the person who owns the business, if you happen to be a team member, then they will come in the door, and then you've got to hand them to different team members. And the chances are, if there's 4 team members, you'll get a quarter of them. But if you market for yourself, you get 100% of them because they're coming to see you, because that's why they connected with you. So it makes sense that you do it and the salon owner does it as well, because that's how it works. And I remember when I had the salon and I was off the floor, I would just chat to people and do consultations over fruit and vegetables or doctor's surgery, or, waiting for my kids to play soccer or wherever I was. And then I would pull out a card and write on the back who I wanted them to ask for, because after a few questions, I knew who I thought they'd be better suited for in my salon. And it was the same when I had all the coaches when the Zing project was running as a franchise, that I would have a chat to a salon owner and then I'd say, I think you'd be really good for such and such. And then I would also, like a GP, sort the patient and give them to the specialist. And that's what I did. So I appreciate that it comes easy for me, but I also think there's some things I do that don't come easy for me, counting your money and your taxes and all of those details. They do not come easy for me. So we all have things that we do well and all have things that we don't like to do. Now, I don't think it's a good idea to spend all your energy trying to sort out your bookkeeping each week if it's not your joy. It's not my joy to do that. So I'm not going to put any time into that. But if I'm going to work on the floor and I want to work with clients, I don't care who you are, that's your job, right? It's the job of the salon owner and it's the job of the team member. And if you work on it together, you'll knock it out of the park. It's that simple. So if you kept a measure of how many referral cards you handed out, and one of the programs I'm working on, I'm so excited, coming up soon, is the team machine. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to directly train the team member, and I'm going to train them on how to do this, because I think they need support. A lot of people can't do this naturally. So I'd like to be able to help them to have a flyer that they handed that has the salon's name and then a space for their name, so that they can directly attract clients. Now, if we do that and they don't hand any out, it's not going to work, is it? But if they do that and they hand them out, it's going to work. And I remember the first time I looked after this salon in Moonee Ponds in Victoria, and this young girl, she was so keen. She wanted to work on the floor as a hairdresser, and the owners of the business were a bit, not sure, we need to train you for 120 hours and then we might let you do a blow wave. And that really wasn't working. I think her name was Caitlin, and that wasn't working for her. And I just said to Caitlin, you know what, let's bypass them. right? Let's get you a flyer that you can hand out. Off she went. She didn't even wait till I helped her with it the next week. She'd already done it. It was an A4 piece of paper. She ran it past the Salon and got the logo put on it and whatever. And she went all down Puckle Street. And because I said to her, go to the girls that work in the shops, because they've got to show up every day and look good because they're sales assistants in, clothing stores. And I don't know how many she collected, but it was unbelievable. And this kid was that excited to tell me. She called herself, which I thought was so gorgeous. It was the first time I'd ever heard it. She said she was the up and coming talent at the name of the salon. And I thought, good on you. And that's how she broke the back of, being tied to the basin and got out of that situation and was doing clients. She was an absolute gun, right? I don't know, age 17. So she wanted it. And I think if you want anything bad enough, you'll find a solution. So it's a teachable skill, the same as doing a facial or waxing a Brazilian. It's a teachable skill. Cutting hair, it's a teachable skill, right? But if you don't have any desire to cut hair, you're not going to learn it. The same as if you don't have any desire to fill your column with clients, then you're not going to learn it, are you? So I just think it's a teachable skill and I can teach it. Taught it to many, but you've got to have the desire where you want to have a fully booked column. The reason you want to have a fully booked column is because when your column is fully booked, every salon runs beautifully. We don't have, I say they're like hens pecking at each other in a hen house if they're bored. But if the hens are busy laying eggs all day, they've got no time to be pecking at anybody else. And so they just get on with the job. And I think hair salons and beauty salons are predominantly full of women, and women like to have purpose and to be busy and to looking after great clients. And that's a we project. That's you and the team. It's a we project. And so if we do it together, we're going to get a much better result, aren't we? So I just think that the times have changed. It's not in the dark ages. We have so many channels, all our social channels. There's no reason why you can't put yourself out there on your social channels and say what it is you love, what your niche at, and why you love doing it. It's just really, really easy today. Whereas before social media, we had to actually run into a person down the street. That took a lot of work. Whereas if you do really good socials, you can just push it out. You can put money behind, boost the ads, and off you go. So there really is an excuse, is there, as to why you're not filled. I think that having a particular thing that you love, niching down, is really important. And that means that you get a reputation for that, and people come far and wide for things that are niche, like cutting curly hair specialists or brow specialists or any of those particular things that people will just come for. Because if you get a reputation and your page has lots of reviews and that sort of thing, like, the world's your oyster. It really is. But I think you need a strategy on how you're going to get your name out there. And once you do that, you're off and running. So it's really, really exciting. I'll just check on my notes. Yeah, this is the other thing that I think goes wrong, that we only market or do some sort of promotion when it's quiet. And therefore it sort of reeks of being desperate. And God, we've got nothing much this week, right? Panic, push out a discount. Like, why are we doing that? We actually are training our clients to respond last minute. And I don't think they're the clients that you really get joy out of. Like, your clients that love you, that repeat and book in advance, it's just steady. It's a steady stream of income. It's emotionally steady. It's more joyful. And so to not do that, to not book a client in for the next appointment, makes no sense at all. And if they don't want to rebook, it's because they don't know that there's a scarcity, that you're in demand, that people want you. So it's another you problem. And the way we fix it is we fix it, meaning that we learn strategies to ask people for the next appointment. The other thing I'm teaching in the team machine is how to ask for referral for an existing client that already knows, loves, and trusts you. It makes sense that they would choose another person. So, like, for example, I've got different girlfriends in different stages in their life. Some of them have got little children, and some of them kids have all left home. Some of them got plenty of money, some are not so much. So if I was to refer a high-end skin clinic, I know which ones would really appreciate that. So I can do the deselecting and choose the right person. But when you advertise in a general public area, then you're just going out to thousands and thousands and thousands. Whereas if you just look at maybe you have 200 clients, because sometimes that's all you have, and they just repeat them. So if you had 200 clients, why don't you go to all of the 200 clients and ask them, do you know of anybody else that would like me to look after them? Like you, I don't know, sisters, neighbours, people you work with. Anyway, no pressure. Here's a couple of vouchers. And if somebody says your hair's nice or your skin's nice, you might go and see Lisa. That's it. So it's the way you explain it. It doesn't sound pitchy or sales. It just says, they might be even talking about how they love their outcome. They said, oh, I wish I'd get my sister-in-law in here. And I said, well, maybe you could. I'll give you a voucher and just give it to her and see if she wants to come. Like, it's just a casual conversation. It's not a pushy sales conversation. So the way I see it, if you've got something that markets for new people and you're always on it, and then you've got something that asks your existing clients to return with a friend, and you rebook your existing clients, it's just a matter of time before your column's booked out. It's pretty simple, really. But sometimes they get all caught up in what if they say no, or what if this? And I think, yeah, and you'll live. You'll live to tell a story. You've got to get used to people saying no. And no, is it a rejection, or is it someone just voicing what they like and what they don't? Like, the fascinating thing is that when we ask someone, would you like to, put your colour darker or your eyebrows thicker, or do you want to have blue black lashes or just straight black? And they say, no, not blue black. You don't go, oh, now I'm offended because I made a suggestion and you said no. So why are we offended when someone, doesn't want to have another service or doesn't want to come back in next week, or, when they struggle to say, no, I don't want to rebook, I want to book online. And then if you haven't rehearsed why you think that's not their best strategy and you don't have a solution, then you go, okay. And I think, I always tell this story about this chap Morris, and I loved him. He used to come into the salon all the time. He was very regular. And I think the reason he was probably regular is because all the girls were 20 and beautiful. Morris was probably about, I don't know, late 40s, I guess. Could have been 50 perhaps. And I wasn't that old. Maybe I was 45. Anyway, this particular day he was standing there and the girls go, so annoying. Why doesn't he sit down? But he never sat down. I don't know if he thought he'd get in quicker. And I happened to have a gap or finished early, and I said, I'll look after you today if you like. So in he came, we got chatting, and we started on, business chats and stuff. And then told me, that's right, he told me his daughter was getting married and he wanted to look super good. I said, all right. So, and he had light coloured hair. And I said, well, what about we just put tiny bit of colour on the ends, make you look a bit like you've had a holiday? He said, yeah. How long does it take? And I told him, and he said, yeah, okay, let's do it. So I did. And then I said, well, because it's a bit blonde on the ends, I think you'd be better off with blonde shampoo because it'll stop it from going yellow. And he said, no worries. So at the end, I said, this is what I used on you today at the basin, and it's what I want you to use at home. So your haircut, well, let's say it was 45. I said in the what we called shoe shine, just tap, tap, tap on the ends. That was 45. And then the product was 29. He said, oh, you scummed me today, Lise. And I said, scum you? Or have I looked after you? He said, yes, okay. I was only joking. I said, okay. So we added that up and he said, that's good. So then his question was, and he got in before, which I should have done it, but I was wanting to not put everybody in with me. He said, how do I get you? And I said, you rebook. And he said, well, I don't ever rebook. I said, well, then you go to me. If you want me, you need to commit to your next appointment. He said, well, I travel overseas. I said, yeah, and you'll come back and want a haircut. So if you do, why don't we book you in for 6 weeks and I'll call you a couple of days, I'll text you a couple of days before. And if you're busy and overseas, just say no. Someone else will take the spot, no problem. But if you don't book it in, you won't get the spot. And he said, okay, fair call. And that was it. So the problem was I attracted another client when I was wanting to not. And this is the problem the world over. If you're really keen and you want to work with the best clients, you have to teach them how to be the best clients. And the best clients are the ones that rebook, that take a product, that listen to your advice, and they're a joy to work with. That's it. Now, if he didn't rebook, he wouldn't have got him with me and he could have gone to one of the other girls. But if he's particular about what he had, which none of the other girls had ever done that, they just cut his hair and sent him home, told me he was a bit silly because he stood up at the front. Like, what are you doing? It's not a judgment committee. It's a hair salon, and you give people what they want and you tell them what you believe they need. That's it. It's not that hard. You need to, as Mel Robbins would say, let go of all that kind of control. And so, to say, actually, I didn't do his wife's hair at that stage, but I ended up doing, her name was Jan. And he said, I was telling the missus about you. I said, oh, that's good. What'd you tell her? He said, I reckon she'd like you. I said, well, bring her in. And we did. Like, that's how simple it is, right? So we've got to get over the fact that, marketing is this thing we do on the side when things turn to shit, or referral is, oh, I'm desperate and I'm asking. It's not. Just do your job, dickhead. I tell people all the time, just be joyful and passionate about what you're doing in this world, and you will attract people. It's like a aura that comes out of you. And for me, it still works to this day because I love people. I love talking to people. I want to find out who's doing their hair. I want to find out if they're happy, and just interested. And so that makes it easier. And I believe if you are a hairdresser or a beauty therapist, you love people too. It's not the kind of job that you can do if you don't like people. All right. So maybe just have a little reality check about whose job it is to do the marketing. And I believe it's a we job, meaning that it's the salon owner's job and it's also the team member's job, because it makes so much sense if we're both on it. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight, and a referral program, a card to match, and a new client program and a card to match. Absolute gold. You can do it. I know you can. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed that conversation and had a laugh or two. Now, if you would like more information on what was just discussed, or even just to connect with me, check out the links in the show notes. It would mean the world to me if you would like and share this podcast with a friend or someone that you think will enjoy it, so that we can continue to grow this community together. And I look forward to seeing you